is here today, and she's coming in from the East Coast, and she's going to tell you all about that in just a second. But we are good friends, and I am so excited about the book that you just published yesterday, or just released yesterday.
Yeah.
It's been a process, and I can't wait to hear about that. But Dr. Joy has so much going on. I put it on the ticker. I hope you'll follow her. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, thank you. It's so good to be here. And you are a friend. Just truly thank you for all your support during this process. So I guess the first thing I'll say is that I believe in the power of joy. And my goal is to use my experience as an educator, classroom teacher, central office administrator to help bring joy to schools. So my primary focus now is to build this joy community. And the thing about joy is it's not easy. And so when we're building this community, there's a lot of things that we have to tear down and restart and try. And that's the hard work. So you'll hear me talk a lot about joy work. And this book is a part of that. Part of that work we have to do, and helping students deal with coping and teaching them how to use coping skills when they're facing challenges.
Right. And your shirt even says joy work.
Yes, joy works.
Yes, joy works. And I can't wait to get one, but I can't till next month. I will
Yes,
have it.
You will.
So when we were talking yesterday, or when you were talking with Mandy on EduMatch yesterday, and your launch, you were talking about how when you wrote Back to Zero, it began as a personal story. And I thought it was really powerful. And I was wondering if you'd like to share that. And do you have your book to hold up?
I do have my book right here.
All right. And this is the copy.
Oh,
you don't have the official copy yet because it takes a little bit for that to happen, but that's okay. I'm just so excited that you could come on with me today. And I don't even have it yet, but I have ordered it. So I can't wait to read it. But tell us a little bit about how the story began.
Sure. And I'll tell you that it was a personal journey for me. I want to say a few years ago, my own child was struggling with emotional regulation. And my husband and I were the parents that would get the phone calls in the middle of the day. And that's heartbreaking. It's hard to see and not be able to help your child while they're in school. You can't get your hands on them, and you know that they're having a hard time. And I remember the first time he really had a meltdown in school, and I went up there, the first thing the administrator asked me was, is there anything going on at home? And instantly I thought, that is the worst question to ask a parent at that moment. But I also realized that was something I had done my whole career when I was interacting with parents and, and students. That's where I led with. And I understood at that point that we needed to do work with helping students manage and cope with the challenges that occur in the learning environment. We can't control what happens at home, but we can help them cope with the challenges that are in the learning environment. And so I started reading books, and I started with reading books by Dr. Ross Green. He has wonderful professional learning books on this topic. So I started with Lost at School, and I actually started with a group of educators. I created a Joy Book Club, which I still use today. It's #Joy Book Club. And I created that as a way to connect with educators really just about this topic. And then we started reading other books, throughout the year, but we started with that book. And the one thing that he would say in all of his books was students can do well, want to do well, and they do well when they can. So that makes me believe that if they can, they just need to be taught. And they need to be taught those skills to self-regulate. And so that's when I started thinking about creating something that was just simple, but friendly, but also embrace the topic with empathy and love. Because it's not easy to talk about challenges, or challenging behavior. We always relate it to discipline. We don't relate it to a student is struggling and has a deficiency with a certain skill. And so I created this little rhyme book, this children's book, but in it, it's powerful with really with professional learning on this area. It just touches so many different areas, but I wanted to do it in kind of a non-threatening, user-friendly, just heartfelt manner with powerful discussion questions in the back that teachers can engage in a conversation with their students about the topic. But I also didn't want the book to be used as just an intervention. Like a student gets in trouble, let's pull out the Back to Zero book, send them to the counselor. I wanted it to be something to help build the classroom community. So teachers would be more proactive, and reading these type of books up front opening the conversation with the classroom so we're not singling out or excluding students for their behavior, because we all struggle with navigating challenges. So I wanted to make a book that sort of normalized that struggle.
I know, and I love that you did that. Keep holding it up if you don't mind.
Okay.
Something I saw on Twitter the other day, someone wrote, "Teach your children how to self-regulate this summer," and I'm just thinking, wow, that's a lot easier said than done, you
Yes.
know. And
And a
sometimes
lot
it's
of
hard.
times we say that, but we automatically think, well, when someone, I said, next time someone asks me what's going on at your home, I'm going to say the same thing that's going on at yours.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff every day. And so we automatically, assume that but we never, I had to learn that I could actually be part of the problem. What is it in the learning environment? What is it that I'm doing? How is it that I'm responding that's not helping the situation? And that's something that we're not automatically like conditioned to respond. We always think it's something else. And, we don't
Right,
learn that. We don't learn that. We don't
right.
have professional learning on the fact that we're part of the problem.
As educators, right,
Yeah.
is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. When you said that yesterday for the first time, like it really hit me because I know it's my go-to also.
Yes.
And of course, my first desire is to partner with parents and to lift
Mhm.
them up. Um, but it is our go-to. And I love that you said that because it really, like our kids, they may not have like what we would say like they may not need a plan or an intervention, but they may still have struggles with regulating their temper. There may be something going on that
Mhm.
they aren't sure how to talk to us about yet because it's happening at school, and they, or they come home and they just don't even want to think about it anymore. I mean, there's so many reasons. I'm glad that you said that. Do you mind showing us your illustrations and just like reading just a couple of pages?
Sure, I'll show a few. I'll start with the beginning. And I'll tell you, with these illustrations, I was when I envisioned the illustration, I really was thinking of how I felt or how I've witnessed children feeling when they're having a meltdown. And I kept thinking of, they feel like a shadow. They feel like not themselves, but just like a shadow of themselves. So when I was
Mm,
working with the illustrator, I was just telling her, Janelle Sabranza. She was amazing, because I was trying to explain to her like what my vision was about this shadow and this kid just feeling like he's not himself. And I just think she captured it so well. And it starts by saying, there are times in school when I can't handle the load. It feels like my brain is going to explode. And this is a great opportunity to kind of talk to your students about how they feel. What does it look like to them? And they may not feel exactly like a shadow, but they would be able to empathize with that student. And we're trying to build that empathy in the classroom,
mhm.
and that's the point of talking about it and being proactive about bringing the topic forward, because it gives you an opportunity to build that empathy. It says, I'm reaching a level 10, a very scary space. I need to get back to 0, a much safer place. And so what I wanted to do was, I wanted the audience to understand that when children are at that level 10 and they're experiencing those big emotions, they feel just as scared as everyone else in the room and the adults. And so we have to respond with making them feel safe and helping them to feel safe, but also teaching them the strategies to de-escalate and get back down to a 0.
Right. And I love that you said that, this is something that we are using to be proactive. Like
Mhm.
we're not using it to single anybody out, but to help students understand that like using a number about how they're feeling, in a way kind of engages their mind in a self-regulation that a lot of us haven't developed, but
Mhm.
having to think about that. And when you're starting to feel upset and uncontrolled, like your anger is becoming uncontrolled. I'm sorry, it's still early for me and my words are
Oh,
slurred.
you're fine.
but, but I love that because that actually engages your mind in a way that helps you slow down too.
And
And
what I did, yes, and the strategies that come after that are very practical strategies that not only are good for kids, but for adults. I use some of those strategies. But I also want the conversation after the book is being read is, what strategies can you use? What works for you? Like these are a start, but what else works for you? That's the conversation that needs to happen in classrooms.
Right.
What can be your safe place? How can you get back to zero? So the discussion questions are good for leading into those kind of conversations.
And I'm interested in this not just as an educator, but as a parent.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to get it like it's been ordered. I'm excited about this because even at
Thank you.
home, and when I think about how we've been together, like with our kids, quarantine, hunkered down, and we haven't really gone anywhere, it like anger has been an issue for all of us,
Yes, yes.
but especially my son, like I feel like he struggles, and my oldest, I feel like this would be a good way to just to start that conversation without
Hmm.
being threatening or lecturing,
Hmm.
um, and use it with all of my kids, all 5 of them. I feel like it's
Yes.
the language that they can all understand and no one feels like I'm singling them out. So I think
Hmm.
this is a really good book for parents too. And I love your illustrations. How does it end because it's such powerful imagery. How does it end? Can you
Well,
spoil it for us?
sure. The end. So the ending is he goes through that, those different strategies, and he comes back and he feels himself again. So the ending illustration is a pleasant surprise. It's different from the rest of the illustrations where you kind of feel so much empathy for what he's going through. But then at the end of the story, he kind of comes back and feels himself after he's learning how to regulate his emotions, and he's sharing this with someone else, with the audience.
Yes. Do you mind? Can you give us a sneak peek? Is that asking too much?
I'll give you a tiny look.
Okay. You're so funny. I love it. So he feels as himself. He is his beautiful self. I love that. That's so powerful. It gives me goosebumps, and I
And I
hope
can
that
imagine that when we're struggling with our emotions, we don't feel ourselves.
right.
All of us, we don't. And so that's what I really wanted to bring across in this book, that we all understand, whether adult, kid alike, we understand what it's like to deal with big emotions.
Right. Yeah. And we have so many big emotions going on right now, all of us.
Mhm.
I think that this, you released this book, like you didn't know that it was going to be during a pandemic when
No.
you were scheduled, right? But like, I think that it has a divine way of being right when we need it. And
Yeah.
I love that. And congratulations on the release of your first children's
Thank
book.
you. I'm so excited. This was just and I'm really grateful to EduMatch, just the whole process, and just being able to connect with such amazing educators through this whole experience. It's just been amazing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Um, so you talked about having joy work. What are some other projects you're working on?
Well, the whole joy work community is what I'm trying to build. And so through my website, I'm looking for like guest bloggers to talk about how they experience joy in their role, how they experience it, how they exemplify it, how they share joy, anything connected to joy. If you teach math, connected to joy, anything, I want to look through the lens of joy. So I'm always looking for guest bloggers. It's a great way if you're kind of just getting your feet wet in writing. It doesn't have to be a long post. I like to say it's just a dose of joy, or just like a snapshot of how you experience joy or exemplify it in your role. I also, like I said, had the Joy Book Club that we started about 2 years ago with the book Lost at School. So I try to do a couple of books a year on
Hmm.
various topics. And I'm looking now for people to help facilitate that process. If there's a book that you think you really connected with and you want to share it, we usually do the book chats on Twitter, but I'm open to different ideas. So those are primarily the
Are
things
you
that I'm
saying
trying
that
to.
because you know I hate Twitter chats?
Uh, well, you know what? I'm learning that there are other ways to have book chats. I like doing Twitter chats, but there's
I know
some
you do.
people that are like, there are other ways that people like to engage. Some people are overwhelmed by like what they feel is a huge audience on Twitter. And some people like more, personal spaces. And so just looking for, I have to be open to different ways. I happen to love doing the book chat on Twitter, but I have to be open. So I started that, but I'm open to other ideas.
If you're open to other ideas, I'm sure to facilitate. Bree said, "Getting back to zero, um, get back to zero, a safer place." I love this. That was
Well,
Bree,
thank
and then
you.
I think she said also, "Play brings me joy in the classroom." Bree,
Yeah.
yes, and Betsy O'Neill says, "Love your lens, Dr. Joy." So
Hi,
sweet,
Betsy.
so
Yes.
cool. I was going to say, when you were talking about Twitter chats, like just having to be tied down to a certain amount of characters is what overwhelms me, because I like to say a lot, and it's always like, how do I make this concise? And sometimes, I'm just, at a loss for that. But I love what you do and how you have lifted up other people and their writing. And so now having your own work is even more amazing. But do you have another book coming out? Did you already talk about that?
Yes, I do. I created a book called Joy Works. And basically what I did was, over my 20-year career and in my different roles, I started to reflect on those times where I felt like I was losing my joy, and then how I responded, and how so many of those responses were focused on other outside circumstances and not on working from within, and not on changing some of my strategies, some of my routines, some of my, my mindset, my attitude. And so I talk about that journey through sort of chapter by chapter. And yesterday I referred to it as a devotional, but not in a religious sense, but just like a reflective chapter, but also including strategies, like immediate takeaways. So I see it being used as, I read a chapter like with a group of friends, and we discuss it and work on whatever is in that chapter reflection, because you contributed to that chapter reflection. So say we are talking about reflection, and then I'm going to focus on that chapter for a week. I don't have to rush through this book. I can kind of take my time and do my joy work as I'm going along in the book, picking up strategies along the way. But I'm also getting stories from other educators. I've included a lot of, small snapshots from other educators, vignettes, I guess you call them. Is that what you?
I would.
Just a reflect. Yeah, I've heard that word used.
You're smarter than me, but yeah, vignettes.
I've heard somebody smart use that word, so I'm gonna.
I think Rochelle Dene Pope uses that word.
Vignettes. And vignettes. I don't know, but I'll use that. And they include their reflection about joy and how joy is present in the work they do, how they experience joy. And one thing I will say that was the common theme in every story and snapshot that I got was that joy is not without challenges. And so that is the common theme in every single response that I received. So I'm excited for that project as well. And I want to continue to reach out to educators, and I want them to share their stories. It can be a video, it can be anything, but I really want, to kind of blow up this joy thing. I want there's something that you can choose in what you do that brings you joy. There's somewhere there's joy, and I just want that to shine in everyone. And I think the more people that contribute, it'll stop everyone else in their tracks and say, hey, wait, I do have something to share. And so that sharing is what I'm really focused on.
Right. And we've talked about this before, but when you say joy is hard work, I mean, it really is hard work. It's, I just froze. I'm sorry. But I love that, we've had conversations about how it is hard work, but it's worth it. And you don't always feel super happy when you're trying to, go on your mission for whatever mission that is. But there's that deeper sense of purpose that you talk about, and that you put into place, and that's why it's worth it to keep going on. And even with your Back to Zero book, when we help our kids learn how to de-escalate, and when we ourselves do not become more escalated in the process, that can actually be a part of our joy, something that we've learned from. And we talk about with our kids or with our students. So I'm really looking forward to this book and sharing it with my own kids. And then, of course, when I go back into the classroom, I love having it. And also using it, like you said, before things happen. And with your new book that's coming out, that, yes, I'm so proud to be a little bit, just a tiny bit, a piece in that. How do we grab our teammates or the people that we learned with, our PLN, and say, how do we find joy in this? It's really hard. And right now, life for all of us seems very, very hard. And I'm getting a little bit sick of it. I don't know about you.
And some people, their joy is escaping, and you can't escape forever. I talk about in the book, just going through different positions and serving in different roles and thinking, once I get this role, I'm going to be good. You can be so joyful. And then you get there, and little by little things start creeping in, and you're like, I'm back here again. And that has nothing to do with the circumstance. It has everything to do with us. And so I had to learn that the hard way. And so that's what I want to, joy is not just, it has to be beyond your circumstance. So whatever if you're struggling with something in one place, a promotion or a different location, it's not going to change those struggles unless you do the work. And that's where the joy work comes in when I talk about the joy work, because it takes so much work to sustain it. You might feel it for a moment, but the same problems everywhere, same
Yes.
thing.
Wherever you go, there you are,
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love what you just said. If
Yeah.
my brain wasn't so tired, like I'm going to write it up and make it a quote, but I can go back and rewatch this. That's really powerful. And to think about, and that's a very common thing, because even when we moved to Alaska, we thought, okay, surely our lives will be easier because I will not be working full time, and we'll be able to and life won't be so fast.
Yes.
But like we've had to, I know this is a little TMI, but we've had to really look at our family and say, wait a minute, like it wasn't about living in Dallas. It was, it's about like how we're interacting with each other and how we're prioritizing our time. And so you face those challenges. If you're not willing to deal with them wherever you are, you're always going to be facing them, and it will steal your joy.
And even with students, we think if I try this quick intervention, the student will be fine. If I try, and then if a student makes a mistake, then we're like, oh, I'm starting from square one.
Right.
But you're not, so we have to think about that in our lives, period. We have to give ourselves grace. If we fall back, it's nothing wrong with just adjusting, readjusting, and moving on. But we're still building those skills along the way. And every day is not going to be perfect. So we get to that new location, we have to carry whatever it is that we learned. The same thing with students, maybe they have a meltdown and they don't respond using the strategies that you taught them. Well, then that's the time that you give them the feedback. You allow them to reflect so they can move on and then try it again. It's about keep trying. You have to keep trying. I tried everything I remember, I thought, this is funny and this is personal, but I thought if I brought my son to the school where I worked, that was going to fix everything. Well, I can't even tell you how that went, so that's a whole other show. And so we think we have these quick fixes, and we think we change circumstance or change location or, give a treat or do something different, and it's going to make everything go away. And it's not like that. It truly is a journey of hard work. And I don't expect it to ever end.
Right.
And I say that in my book. It never ends. But each time you get a little stronger, you learn more skills, and that's where the joy comes from. Seeing yourself, seeing your personal growth.
Right. And being able to experience like the happiness part in the moment because you're actually present. Rochelle says, good morning, amazing friends. Good morning, Rochelle. Thank you for joining in. And you can't see this comment, but Jennifer Ledford says, joy is escaping. Yes, these times feel that way. And she also says, joy takes work. And I think that, that's probably like, maybe that is your new slogan. Joy takes work.
I just cut it down and said joy work. That's my cut down.
Yeah, and that's a good one. How can you tell us
those characters on Twitter? See,
you've got the perfect hashtag. Hashtag joy works. Okay, tell us one more time. How can we follow you? And I do have some of your stuff on the ticker. Okay,
perfect. So really, if you go to my work website, joyworkedu.com, that's where, you can see my Twitter, my Facebook, everything is right there. I would say that's the best place to begin. Subscribe so you can see the different work that's going on. I'm on have my Facebook page. I'm doing a Twitter chat actually tomorrow at 8:30. You can see the different Twitter chats. I'm doing one each month, and I'll have different guests moderating. And everything is going to be connected to joy. The topic is not every week about joy, but they're coming from different perspectives, but it's always going to be wrapped around and connected to joy. So tomorrow I'll be talking about coping skills and giving away a free copy of my book or two. And that's at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time using the hashtag joyworkedu. And so, that's basically the best way to connect to me is through my website.
All right, so I hope you heard that. Oh, we have some comments on. You have a Twitter chat going on tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, look, we have, Jennifer, we can see her. That's so cool. Yes.
Hi,
Joy
Jennifer.
is a
I see her.
journey.
Yes, joy is a journey.
It makes us smile to see you, Miss Rochelle, or Dr. Rochelle. I'm sorry. I'm so slow today. So tomorrow your Twitter chat is at 8:30, and this is about your book. Tomorrow your Twitter chat is that what
Yes,
you
well,
said?
I'm going to talk about the topic of coping skills. It'll be 3
Okay.
questions from 8:30 to 9, and I'm going to give away a free book during that chat.
Awesome.
I'll post
And if
those
you-
questions today, and I'll make sure I tag EduMatch. It'll be on Twitter. Just look at Joywork EDU, and you'll see those questions posted today.
I should put that in if you've never done a Twitter chat and you want to know more about that, please put something in the comments. I can definitely help you. I used to love Twitter chats. I just needed to step back to embrace my joy a little bit. But anyway, if you are in a Twitter chat and you've never done it before, this is a hashtag. You just put it in the search and you follow that. And at 8:30, it's Eastern time because you're on Eastern, right?
Yes.
So that's when you put this hashtag in the search and everything will come up. And it is a little funky at first to like actually do a Twitter chat, but it's fun. It can be fun. I might actually join you tomorrow just because I love you.
Yes, and it's only 3 questions. I learned that for me, 30 minutes is sometimes depending on the topic, it's like a work in progress. If you do 30 minutes, you say, oh man, I had so much more to say. If you do an hour, people drop off. So it's just kind of work it. But I'm going to do 30 minutes for the next couple of months and see how it goes, see how the community builds. And I'm always looking for guest facilitators. I want to, I want to reach as many people as possible. So
yes,
if you go to my website and you're interested in guest blogging, guest facilitating, or even doing a book chat, maybe you have a book that you feel is going to be really powerful for this joy journey in any topic. It doesn't matter. Send me something on my contact form and say, hey, I think this book would be great. I'd love to do some facilitate this, and it'd be great. It's just about growing this community.
Right. I love that.
With this
I love
joy
the opportunity that you're sharing is amazing. And I love that you're doing that. You're reaching out. That's great. I hope, I know that we'll talk after this because I have some ideas, but I think it's great.
Okay.
Kudos to you. Well, if you have any last questions before we take off, feel free to drop them in the comments. But I just want to say again, Dr. Joy, congratulations. As I freeze, not everybody has written a book. So it's still like, even though it's a little bit more easy these days to actually write, like it takes a lot to put yourself out there. It feels like, and we've talked about this, like before your book goes out, like you feel like you're standing in front of everybody, like in your swimsuit. I'm just going to say swimsuit, keep it PG. And,
oh, Melody.
Right. I'm learning. And but it's powerful, like to be able to put your work out there for others to find something from your message and implement it in their lives. So you're doing something that's amazing. So again, congratulations to you.
Thank you. And I think it's also important to just do something that you're passionate about. Put it out there. Everyone needs whatever it is that you have to offer. Someone needs it. And your passion will show even more than whatever that product is that you're sharing with everyone.
Right. I love the opportunity you've extended, and I hope people will take a look at Bitly. What is that thing called after the Bitly, the line?
Slash.
Thank you. It wasn't coming to
my backslash. I don't know.
Bitly/back0. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Sometimes I can't think of words, but please, yes, that Bitly. And then Rochelle says, looking forward to 5 o'clock on Friday with Dr. Joy. That's right. You're going to be with us in the morning. Yeah. So that's another way that you can get to know Dr. Joy a little bit more. But again, so we're going to end our time here. Thank you again so much for everybody for watching.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure always to collaborate with you and to share your work. You're amazing. Have a good day, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Bye.